Bird Box, the Netflix original film, became the most popular movie on that platform, at least original movie, and kind of took the whole world by surprise. It became a huge hit. Everyone was talking. Of course, there were memes all over the place, and it turned out that it was Netflix making a lot of them, and weird stuff like that. But like everybody seemed to have seen this movie, and so it was like the theatrical event of the year that actually wasn't in theaters, which is kind of interesting. And of course, I mean, a lot of people might end up comparing this to A Quiet Place a little bit because I mean, it's a similar concept where with A Quiet Place, you know, they're monsters and people had to be quiet and things like that. So don't make any sound. Here it was. Don't look, no sight. So whatever force was taking over the world, you'd look at it, and it would show you your greatest fear. So everyone kind of had to walk around blindfolds, or just, you know, not look at anything basically. So people kind of made the comparison. I actually did. Funnily enough, I watched both movies back to back, so I had a lack of sight and sound double feature with The Quiet Place and Bird Box. Both I thought were really good, but A Quiet Place, I mean, it's 10 times the movie that this is, though. I'll say that Bird Box, it is a really good movie, and for what it's worth, I think it was, you know, based on a novel that came out well before A Quiet Place. So, you know, Netflix just happened to produce it around the same time. It's just kind of cool, you know, the whole Armageddon, Deep Impact kind of thing, you know, Dante's Peak, Volcano kind of thing, you know, whatever, right? So it's just kind of a coincidence, but I think it's a good movie, and it does have an interesting concept to it. What it really feels like to me, because it's actually a long movie. I think it's like 2.5 hours long, but it almost feels like one of those classic Stephen King miniseries from the '90s. A little bit. It has that kind of feel to it. I think like even Stephen King was like, "Yeah, this is really good," but then he always does that, doesn't he? But for the most part, I think people were positive about this movie, but just lacking in comparison to A Quiet Place. Maybe that was it. I don't know, or maybe there were just too many silly things about the movie. I know there was some controversy about, you know, some real footage of an explosion that they featured in the film that, you know, got people rattled up. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. Basically, the movie, it's, you know, what I just explained previously, a strange force that if you look, you go crazy and die. And then, of course, as it is with these types of movies, there's some who fall victim to this force, and they want to work with it, and they want everyone to see things, and that allows for some, you know, interesting drama and stuff like that. A bulk of it, though, kind of like there's a lot of kind of location changes to the movie, but the bulk of it, I would say, kind of takes place in this house, where Sandra Bullock, her character, finds herself after first experiencing the carnage. The house is owned by a character played by John Malkovich, who's great, and they're kind of holed up in there. They're, you know, looking for ways of escape, ways to get out of this. You know, could they go to the supermarket and just get a whole bunch of supplies? Is there a safe haven somewhere? They're starting to hear about things like that. Should we let these people in? Things like that. So the typical kind of stuff that you'd see in movies like this, even like zombie movies, sort of, you know, where a group of characters, they're held up in a location and they argue amongst themselves and they have to survive and they have to figure out what's going on and all that kind of stuff. So it's fairly, you know, recognizable in that sense, and it kind of plays to the same kind of beats that those movies do, and stuff like that. People will like betray other people. People will make stupid mistakes and get, you know, killed or harmed in some way by the force and stuff like that. So I mean, it's not wholly unique, but there are some parts where I did kind of think that, you know, they did do a little bit differently, which I like, because for one thing, and I guess I'll say, I mean, if you haven't seen it, there's going to be spoilers, so just a warning. With the John Malkovich character, you kind of think, just because the character is such an asshole throughout the whole thing, you get this, you know, Mr. Hooper vibe, from Night of the Living Dead. That kind of character. I mean, you've seen that kind of character a million times in movies, where they're just always arguing with the main character, always contradicting them, and things like that. And you think that's exactly what John Malkovich's character is going to be like, but then as it turns out, he was right all along about certain things. Like he's like, oh, we shouldn't let this person in. What happens? That person gets in, completely fucks their shit up. So that was kind of a good twist, and it has kind of an interesting framing device too, which that's actually what starts the movie. They're looking for this safe haven. Sandra Bullock with the two little kids, they all got the blindfold on. They're going to the canoe down the river, and it's a very treacherous terrain, or not terrain, water thingy. It's a very treacherous water thingy, and that goes back and forth throughout the whole movie, which I know some people are like, kind of like, what's with this storytelling device here? This is kind of silly. And maybe it was unnecessary, but it kind of, at least, I don't know, at least in some way, it established how long that journey was. Like, it felt like it was lasting throughout the whole movie. So I kind of get why they did. I kind of get it. So I won't judge that too harshly. And well, I won't give away the very end, but there's kind of an interesting angle to that too, in the same way that there was an interesting angle when it came to the disability in A Quiet Place, the deaf girl. So there's always kind of an interesting, twist that they put to these things. So I thought it was a good movie. I thought the cast was good. Sandra Bullock, I mean, she's amazing. I mean, really, you got to give it to her. She carries the whole thing, and her performance is great. And there is this, underlying theme, or maybe like very explicit theme, of motherhood. Like, could she handle being a mother? Could she take care of other lives? Could she raise these two kids throughout the movie, and the challenges and the fears that she faces with that? So I mean, it's a very real commonplace fear that they thread into the overall tapestry of this crazy, fucked up Stephen King-ish kind of horror film, which is cool. And of course, John Malkovich is great. He's always great in everything. B.D. Wong is also in the movie, which is really cool. Machine Gun Kelly is in the movie for some fucking reason. All that, good cast, a really good cast of characters. Some come, some go, but they're all really good, and I think they sell it when otherwise maybe it is a little bit of a cheesy concept. It's definitely not. Again, I'll compare this, till the cows come home, to A Quiet Place, but it's not quite the filmmaking pinnacle that A Quiet Place was, though. I mean, it doesn't necessarily try to be. It's not competition, but it was a good movie, and it was so interesting how it just caught on so hugely with everyone, because everyone saw this movie when it came out. It was a huge Netflix event, which kind of gets you curious about the future of film and streaming, and how we watch movies generally. So this is a very exciting time, and I think, if anything, I mean, masterpiece it's not. Let's be honest, but very good and very entertaining, and it has kind of its place in this kind of, I don't know. It's still an early, it's still early days of streaming, so we'll have to see how it goes. But I think this is notable for being such a hugely impactful piece of entertainment, which, at the end of the day, that's all we really want. And it delivered in that respect, and delivered the entertainment, delivered the thrills, and delivered the great performances. So I give it a recommendation. If you haven't seen it, if you don't mind what I spoiled, definitely check it out. Just scary enough to enjoy on Halloween time, October horror movies. For more reviews, I will be doing more this month, 31 Days of Horror. Stay tuned for more of my rambling, incoherent opinions on horror movies. So until then, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.